The developmental coach can prevent injury also by making sure they select the appropriate gymnast to be in their group. If a gymnast's strength and flexibility does not match what the requirements are for her to be or him to be in this group, you either need to have them start at a lower level or at a higher level. But please try to make sure the gymnast fits into the appropriate group that you are training. Next, remember that you need to think of your job as to laying a foundation upon which the gymnast is going to progress through the remainder of their gymnastics career. If they have a good foundation, they'll progress with better skills and decreased risk of injury. They'll have a better experience all in all. So please remember that your job is to set this foundation from which they are to develop off of. So think to yourself, this is where they're at now. How do I progress them to the next level? What are the goals that they need to accomplish from a strength and conditioning standpoint? Even though you have a developmental gymnast performing a certain set number of skills, you also have the strength and conditioning that you need to be aware of to get them to the next level, so that once they finish your class, they are ready to progress on. Remember to think about flexibility. There's static and dynamic flexibility. If you have a gymnast perform too much static, slow, steady flexibility at the beginning of class, it may decrease their power for up to an hour. So therefore, you might want to think of more dynamic, quick flexibility at the beginning of practice and more slower, static flexibility at the end of practice. Conditioning of their legs to fatigue and then having the gymnast perform a powerful event like vault may not be the smartest thing. You may want to spread out that conditioning so that they may do lighter conditioning at certain points in practice where it's not going to fatigue them for the apparatus or the event that they're about to partake in. Think about how long you place them on hard surfaces and soft surfaces. Remember, a soft surface also requires for them to have better kinesthetic and balance, better body awareness, because a soft surface is uneven. So soft surface doesn't necessarily mean a safe surface. Sometimes a firmer surface is safer if they don't have that balance or body control to land on an uneven surface. So remember, your job is to not only select the right gymnast for the developmental class, but also make sure that you think about their strength training and flexibility training to help set a foundation upon which they will progress off of to the next level. As the coach, it is important for you to understand the gymnast's physical capabilities. Is she a strong, powerful gymnast or a flexible, graceful gymnast? What type of body does this gymnast have that you feel she'll respond best to? For example, if a gymnast is a very powerful gymnast, a very strong gymnast, they may lack some of the flexibility. Therefore, instead of just emphasizing all of the power in their skill selections, you may want to focus a little bit more at the developmental level on the flexibility to try and give them some sort of balance. Now, some gymnasts genetically will always be stronger and less flexible, and some will be more flexible than strong. But it's your job at a developmental level to try and create some type of balance and work on those areas that they need the most work on, especially through their strength and conditioning, since the skills are pretty much set as a developmental coach. Now think about also not just strength and flexibility, but as you're watching this gymnast, do they seem to be better at saltoing? Are they better at twisting? Where do they have a niche to be able to perform these type of skills? If they're better at saltoing, you might want to work more the basics of twisting. So that way when they're done with your class, they may have a better experience for the next level and a better well-rounded experience as to the different skills that they can perform. So you may have a tendency to want to go after and showcase the strength if a gymnast is strong and showcase the flexibility if the gymnast is flexible. But at the developmental level, please remember to try and work on all aspects and develop a nice balance between the two. Please remember that gymnastics is not just a matter of physical conditioning, but also mental ability. You need to understand what can this gymnast comprehend. Do they understand the words I'm using, especially at the developmental level? If you use too big of words or too confusing of words, the gymnast may not understand what you're actually trying to have them perform. So try and use the appropriate vocabulary to get the information out to that gymnast so they can understand what you want them to perform. And also remember that sometimes if you do too much information, it's overload for them and they cannot comprehend. So try and be succinct, short, and direct. Try and make changes to their technique based upon sometimes body language as opposed to verbal language. So sometimes you not only have to use your voice to explain the corrections that you need to make, but also show them with your body or show them through video or through pictures on what the shape it is that they're trying to accomplish or the skill that they're trying to accomplish. So by doing this, they may understand what it looks like in their mind's eye better and have a better mental image of what it is you're trying to have them do, and thus perform the skill more safely and effectively. Remember to watch the gymnast for signs of mental fatigue and breakdown. Mental fatigue creates mistakes by timing. Their timing will become off. They will not think clearly, so they don't put the effort into it, and their form breaks down, and thus injury may pursue. It's important for you to understand the nutritional status of the gymnast too, because if a practice is going too long, if the gymnast was not properly fueled before practice, this not only affects their physical capabilities, but also their mental capabilities. Sometimes they just get mentally drained if they've not had enough fluids or food intake. So please refer to the nutrition portion of the Sports Science series on USA Gymnastics Education for appropriate nutritional concerns. Remember, the gymnast needs to pay attention to their coach. It is important for you to make sure that the gymnast is not distracted during practice. Distractions can lead directly to injury. Distractions can lead to poor performance, and not only can it lead to injury to the gymnast, but it can create injury to other gymnasts that the gymnast may actually run into or not pay attention to their environment. The developmental gymnast needs to be aware of their surroundings, to remember that gymnasts may be dismounting off an apparatus as they're crossing that mat, to remember that gymnasts may be going forwards or backwards as they're standing on a gymnastics mat, and they need to pay attention to, in rhythmic gymnastics, apparatus that may be flying through the air. So please make sure that the gymnast is vigilant about what they are doing, where they're at in the gym, how they get from point A to point B in the gym safely and effectively. Please keep the attention of the developmental gymnast.